SketchCraft morning podcast has begun. Only after the first few morsels of caffeine may the show start. That is the rule. Here we go. Brandon can enter the show now.
Hello, everybody.
I keep Brandon locked out, right outside the door.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's not
I
allowed
keep
in.
I keep scratching, but you just won't let me in.
I can hear his little muzzle sniffling underneath the crack. I know you got a Red Bull in there. I know you got a Red Bull.
I smell it. Give it.
I'm surprised that every time I go to your place, I don't just do that. Like I don't just take a Red Bull and kind of hide under the door.
As long as it's a yellow Red Bull.
What's a yellow Red Bull?
Oh, it's amazing. It's I don't drink regular Red Bull. I only drink yellow. Just so you know,
But
yellow
Red
is
Bull
like
is yellow, isn't it? Like
no. The can is yellow. It's the tropical Red Bull is my favorite. The yellow ones. Oh my goodness.
I haven't digested a Red Bull since 2003, so I'm just curious. Like, what is a tropical Red Bull? Like,
It's Red Bull with a nice tropical flavor to it. I will gladly buy you one when you come out here.
no.
Yes.
No. I've done enough damage. to my
I'll
liver.
make how about this? I'll make you a deal on the
No.
cast here. Wait,
No.
hold on, just hear my deal. All right. Well, it was going to be degrading. It was for me, so it would have been good for you for the show. But you know, if you don't want to hear the deal,
Does it involve me drinking a Red Bull?
no. This is how fucked up my head is. I thought when you said sniffing at the door for a Red Bull, my mind went, you know, if it was a clean bowl and you poured a yellow Red Bull in there, I'd probably drink it. I'd be like, well,
Brandon, you know, your friends think I'm mean enough to you. If I videotaped and put on the YouTube forcing you to drink out of a dog bowl of Red Bull, do you have any idea what that would do to me? Like,
but I would make you also drink, not out of a bowl, but a yellow Red Bull, and I know you wouldn't like it.
I understand this is your burlesque fantasy, you know? We
I'm
could both be
just,
wearing
I'm just
collars,
saying.
perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'll
all
put
right.
on Gamora's harness.
Uh-huh. Listening to 98 Degrees. Or,
I was hoping more like the Crow soundtrack, you know, so we both are,
no, what
you
was
know,
that butterfly song you mentioned last time?
oh, Crazy Town,
Yeah.
the butterfly song.
Andy just like he arrives that night to test out the game and then just turns
Right.
around and walks away. Huh. Hmm. Well, that's a really interesting way to start the show, Brandon. You know,
Yeah.
we've missed this around here. I've had a few interviews the last few shows, so I haven't had Brandon on.
I know. I feel very left out. You vent without me, sir.
Well, I thought you'd be at the Area 51 thing. Have you seen that?
Yes. And funny story. I have a friend. She lives in London, and she
Hold on.
she met.
Hold on. It's because you're in Arizona. I find this funny. I know no one listening to podcasts is gonna be like, "Why is Rob laughing?" It's
Yeah,
just, how am I not shocked?
right.
All
She
right, go ahead.
so I have a friend that's in London, and she goes, "Hey, did you go to the Area 51 raid?" And I go, "I live in Arizona. That's in Nevada. That's like
Right. It's a
7 hours away." And she goes, "Oh." She goes, "Well, you know, over here you could pretty much get cross country pretty fast. It's a rather small area." And I was like, "Yeah, no, it would take me like 6 hours at least, maybe 7 to drive down there, let alone
Yeah,
actually
you
go."
should ask her about the troubles in Afghanistan because that's about the distance from the UK to the
Yeah.
from Arizona to Area 51 is about the distance from uh, London to Afghanistan. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I was like, "No, I did not. No, did not go to the Area 51. I'm not gonna go outside and run in the desert. It's too hot for that."
you see the guy doing the Naruto run on the news? The news guy was out there. Yeah, we're here at this Storm Area 51, and some guy just ran off camera with the Naruto run.
Just arms back
Yeah,
there,
arms back, bro.
just ninja running it.
Yeah, I'm just sitting back, just toasting the millennials. Like, there you go, man. That's Gen Z guys just sitting back, just admiring it. Like, this is This is just a future that the boomers could not imagine. I was trying to explain this to my wife because she's like, well, how are there more millennials than Generation X if there's all these boomers and they gave birth to Generation X? I had to explain to her. It was the single kid syndrome of the 70s. They all had single kids. One,
Yeah.
maybe two, but mostly just one. And then they got divorces and then they had kids later in life. Like they would
Yeah.
have like the real second family when they're
Yeah.
40s and 50s, right?
Yep.
And that real second family, they went and told all those kids to have kids, like 6 or 7, and get the giant SUV. And that's how it happened. And she just looked at me. I'm like, hey, I was right there in the thick of it, you know? I watched my mom and dad do it, and all my friends' moms and dads do it, and it's the way it is. So now those kids are out there running like Naruto. That's the best. Brought a smile to my rather dour face this week. Dour face,
Let's just say sour.
sour. Well, every time I look at that little drawing of me, I'm like, that seems about right.
That's accurate.
I can accept that. This is fine. This is fine.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, did you get a chance to listen to my last podcast?
I'll be honest, since you left me out of it, I did not want to listen to it. My feelings were a little hurt. Even though you were talking about your feelings without me, my feelings got hurt. Would you care to go into it with me?
I
I know
asked
what it was
you.
about. I know what it was about, sir. I listened to the fact that you were talking about the Kickstarter and having to refund things.
Mm-hmm.
I put it on while I was working. And I don't know. It's not the same without me when you talk. I feel like
It
you don't get the
sounds to
whole
me like you
story
didn't
out.
actually listen to the podcast. You're trying to get me to explain to you what I said on the podcast.
I won't admit to that because that'll just add to the fact that I never come prepared for any of our podcasts.
Well, if you did listen to the podcast, what would you say, Rob? Just keep rounding it
Yeah.
about, right?
I just wanted to, if you just told me
Mm.
what the main gist of the
Mhm.
podcast was, I
Well,
could tell you if I heard
what do
it.
you think the podcast will be? Look, guys, I don't have any advertisers, so we could do this for 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
This is, I mean, I get 14 views on the podcast stream. They're all the 6 different channels and maybe 100 views on YouTube. So,
We
like,
appreciate those 6 views.
yeah, well, yeah, but at that being said, I will abuse those 6 views too. Like, you signed up for it. I'm willing to sit through this nonsense. Are you aware the pod there was a Kickstarter, Brandon? Do you know any of this stuff, or do I have to? Come on, man, help me out. Be
Yes,
be a
you.
partner here. Fuck.
So much pressure. Yes, I am aware that you did a Kickstarter
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
years ago
Mm-hmm.
for your game magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and you had an unlikely partner who
Mm-hmm.
at the time took 20,000 from you.
Well, he took. Can't remember what the number was. I know it put me back 20 grand because I had
It
to
was
spend more
it
money
was
than.
crazy. It was more money than I've had in my savings account ever.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to pull
But
stocks, our savings and stocks. You know that thing that Republicans like to tell you, well, get stocks, and that's how. Well, I had to use it because my
there you go.
conservative asshole friend stole my fucking money. So, go ahead.
Yes. So, you've had a lot of ups and downs since then. A lot of downs.
Mm-hmm.
A couple ups, not much. More downs. You resorted to working with me. That's never good. And now you've gotten to the point where,
It got so bad I turned to Brandon for help. Like,
yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
like
Um,
when backers, and there aren't many, out of 189 backers, let's say, a dozen of them are pretty vocal in a given year. Um, that could also mean that there's 2 dozen or 3 dozen silently pissed off people too. That doesn't, there's no way to really accurately figure out how that is. But let's just say there's a dozen people being vocal, and they like to tell me things like, I need to be responsible and grow up and get a job and just pay out all this money. I'm like, man, I turned to Brandon for help. Do you realize like how Brandon?
yeah, you're right. You're at rock bottom, sir.
I mean, look, if I need help at the gym or had to get diabetes, you're my man. But
Oh yeah, I keep a nice balance of both those.
mhm,
Like if
mhm.
you want to look like you could really win a fight, but also fuck a buffet up, that's me.
Yeah,
Like I'm the best of both those
yeah,
worlds. But
and
art
I've
wise,
seen Brandon do it at the Basil Buffet at
yeah, yeah.
the
Was
Westgate
that
Hotel.
the name of it?
The Northgate is the Northgate Hotel. It's the one right next to
Uh,
the convention center. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Westgate, North. I don't, yeah, it was basil or some fresh basil. It wasn't fresh, and there was
it
no
was not
basil.
fresh. No,
There was no
yeah,
basil as far as the eye could see.
no.
They kind of had some watermelon slices and a cherry coke. That's the most of any form of fruit or vegetable that was there. But yeah, so I turned to Brandon, and Brandon's wife were helping. Hey, who knew your wife would be such a tremendous amount of talent, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She actually helped out. But look, at the end of the day, Brandon, I just caved into the pressure. I folded. Like, what's a good
Got a
example?
Kenny Loggins, Rogers, what's his name?
Can you
Kenny Loggins. Got to know
can
when to fold him.
can you
Kenny
can you
Loggins, what's the
lock?
guy? Kenny Rogers, the
Yes,
chicken
yes.
chicken guy, the, the gambler.
Your understanding of the '80s is impressive.
I was born in '85, so I do the best I can.
It's Kenny Rogers.
There you go. He's the chicken guy.
Yes, he's the chicken guy. I've seen the Seinfeld episode. So, um, yeah, I just folded, and I'm like, well, here's the thing. I can handle the bank yelling at me. I just can't take it no more with people on the internet I don't know yelling at me and calling me a liar and a thief and a lazy kid. I can't be. Look, man, that's me being called lazy is that that's the one fucking thing I wish I had in me. Like if I could develop one talent, laziness would help. Like it would mean I get more sleep. It would mean my health would be better because I just would be like, fuck doing all that shit. Maybe I'd
Right.
play more games and see my animals more. I'd see my wife more. It wouldn't be here recording podcasts for 14 viewers. But whatever. So, I quit. I hate people, those people like to go out there and go, I never quit. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it might take me an absurd amount of time to give in, but eventually it's like, look, uh, it's just not gonna work. Like Hector posted some comments on that podcast, and
Oh my.
God love him. He's a real fan, and he tried, man. You could almost feel the panic. He types no, like,
Like Vader.
yeah. Normally I would just apply the GIF, because
Hmm.
I don't. I'm not taking the time to write out that many O's, but he did. And then he goes, instead of a loan to pay off, take a smaller loan to get a 40-page intro book and give that to the backers. Then do Indiegogo for the next book. Like, first off, okay, I don't even know what to say to sending people a 40-page book, including shipping and all that stuff, and then be like, and then I'm going to go do an Indiegogo to get the next set. Like, let's just tear this all apart. Like, I did reply to it. I said, I no longer want to spend any time on it. I don't want to pack or ship anything. Appreciate it. We're back to square one. And he says he understands, all right. But, when I look at that statement, first I see someone who cares, but then I
Right.
have to like remind them of the realities of production. Like, so now I have to make 40 pages of a game magazine, including the copy editing and all that shit that I've spent a lot of time doing that I just don't want to do anymore. And let's say I force myself to do that, right? That
Yeah.
means no commissions, no drawing my own comic in between them, right? Who knows where I'm getting that time out of? I imagine that's coming out of weekends.
Yeah.
So then I go take a smaller loan. I don't know what he means smaller. So what, 6 grand? Like, I don't
Right.
know what. Plus, those people bought prints and art, so it's not just a book. And then I have to do the shipping, so that's $5 to $6 of shipping. Let's say 7 plus taxes and supplies, 7 times 189. Just to ship it, right?
Hmm.
Let's just do an even 10 because it's never as trim as you might think. So that's an extra grand right there just to ship it. Then I'm gonna do that again later on. Like, none of that makes any sense, you know. So it's like he's like, no, just make the basic book. And I'm like, I don't want to make any book. You
Yeah.
know, like that's kind of like the problem. Um, and here's what kind of like here's the thing, man. No matter what I make, I feel like no matter what I make, because it took so long, people are just going to be upset. Like let me tell you where this goes back to. This goes back to first with the Kickstarter. I promised these 4 prints, and each one was one of the editors. It was Mochi, Truffles, Bombcat, and they were posing with different games. And that's that piece of art with Bombcat with the big hat and all the Smash Brothers is one of them. I did another layout with Truffles with Mortal Kombat, and that all got drawn and flatted. I paid a flatter to do that. And then the
Hmm.
Mochi got started. I was halfway through that. Um, but I don't draw the characters like that anymore. Like they don't look anything like that. So this whole time I've been like, how do I make that work? How do I make that work in the context of the book? And like the thoughts in my head was always like, well, maybe Red draws the girls in the book differently than how they look in real life. Like he's, but then I just threw it away. Years later, I'm like, look, I'm not making those prints. Like the time came and went for that particular way of drawing and that style. And I was like, I'm just going to provide 4 prints, the artwork that's going to be in the book, because I just don't feel like dealing with that conundrum. The fact is, I tried to make this thing into something that I could force myself to go do, because the fact is, after taking such a kick to the balls, uh, for real, like a repeated kick to the balls over this, over the money and everything else that went into it, that I couldn't just make a whatever that was. Does that make sense? I know it sounds look to anyone on the outside who has no empathy, nothing I can say right now is going to change your mind.
Right.
Right? All they're going to hear is, look, there's Rob not taking responsibility again. So I just want to preface this. First off, I'm paying this out the hard way. I'm taking the fucking money, the loan, and it's a business loan. I'm taking that money and I'm paying you back. So you people, if you got no empathy and you just hate everything, just fucking leave. You're getting your money back. You know, just go
Right.
away. I'm doing that because I don't want to deal with you people ever again. You know, I'm done with you. You know. Um, the other thing I would say is I didn't have the ability to do that 6 years ago. I had no credit, guys. Like I had these outstanding student loans, and GameFan had put me about 5 or 6 grand into debt with all my computer equipment I got to make GameFan, that I had owed interest on. So like I spent years. People were like, "Well, you got another job. How come you didn't pay this out?" Because I was paying off all this other shit. I was paying
Yeah.
off the GameFan debt. I mean, Dave didn't pay me very well for 2 years. He owes me somewhere between 50 and 100 grand. I stopped doing the math. It was too depressing. And then Josh kicked me for another fucking 20. So I mean, can you take a $200,000 personal hit, Brandon?
No.
You know what I mean?
I,
Like in a 6 year period, dude. Like, or 8 year period. Can you? I mean, for real. Like, let's just be
right.
honest. Like, I know a lot of people out there like to say, "Oh, because fucking one dude, homeboy in the fucking Kickstarter was like, I lost this much amount of money in business." Man, I don't give a shit how much money this dude lost in his business. And frankly, I just don't fucking believe anybody. But I
Yeah.
know my situation, and my situation is this: uh, I I'm stuck between financial ruin and career ruin, right? So if my career and my reputation is shot, I can't earn any more money. Like that means more to
Right.
me than debt. Like I can earn more money for now. I mean, everyone has an earning limit. That's the one thing these youngsters don't understand. Like there's a maximum potential earning phase of your life, and it's
Yeah.
downhill from there. And the years I spent on GameFam and all the free time I spent making this Game Cave thing were just wasted opportunities. I could have been doing anything else to help further my career. Making game magazines doesn't help my career. I'm not going to get a job making game magazines. I'm not going to get a job making any kind of magazine layout. I had people approach me, legitimate dudes that fucking make shit like brochures for like, high-end coffee and all those guys
Yeah.
that make convention stuff, and because they would see the magazine posts on Instagram and go, "Dude, we make all this stuff. We like you to do stuff for our projects. But then I'm like, now I'm spending how many hours making graphic design? And by the way, they never liked anything I did because I don't do anything in vector. Like they liked the end result. They didn't like the fact that I wasn't making shit in vector. You know, you got to
Yeah.
do it all vector. And I'm like, what part of Retro Game Magazine did you think was fucking vector? Like I'm trying to, what
Right.
part of pixelated game screens did you think was like? And I had to explain. Perhaps the only thing I'm good at is making this one thing the fucking world could care less about.
Yeah.
Honestly, the world cares more about running around like Naruto in front of Area 51 more than it does about one fucking game magazine layout. So a year ago, when the Megavisions dudes were making a print magazine, and I saw what they were making, it looked pretty horrible. I thought, well, maybe I could turn this stuff I've learned with GameCube into something that's not just manageable, but I could pass this on to other people. Like I could teach them how to make it, and then I don't have to ever do it again. You know. Um, and I just didn't think it would take a year to get to the point where I could train people to do any of this stuff, you know? So, but I got no choice now. Now I've cut them off. So with this next issue of Megavisions, I'm like, I'm not making no more game magazines. Like I'm legitimate. I'm being dead serious. I may never
Yeah.
make a game magazine layout ever again. And I say may because I'm afraid, you know. Then you know that meme and the narrator Rob did in fact make a game magazine, you know, a game layout. But I don't know, like it doesn't. I mean, Brandon, you've seen the layouts, dude. Like they look cool, but who the fuck cares, man? Like just be honest.
No one.
Like my fans care because it's different, and I've had people go, "Wow, I don't care about games. I would. This looks cool, you know. Wish the game looked that cool." Um, but it's just. I remember showing them to like employers. They get confused. People just get confused, and I'm like, either I'm way ahead of my time or I'm past my. You know what I mean? Like, what is? Am I
Right.
completely just fucking crazy with this, and there's no point to it, and I'm just wasting my entire. I feel, look, the pessimistic Hayao Miyazaki side of me goes, this is a waste of my life, and it's beneath me.
Right.
You know, the op the optimist, the Libra, the you know, the more jovial, go lucky Disney, whatever, Pixar side of me goes, well, there are people out there who value this. So being able to help bring value into their lives when no one else will, you know, for this sort of thing, you know, and taking it seriously and trying to push it forward has extreme merit. You know, like there's joy in that, right? Like there's goodwill to be done. But look, no one cares. You know, like at the fact of the matter is, I've taken this thing everywhere, E3s, and it's not like people look at it and go, "Oh, they're shocked that I'm doing it." They're, "Oh, wow, that it looks old. Oh, this is cool." But then immediately, but it's pointless. You know? And
Yeah.
the Megavisions guys do it just because they have the fan base and to of people who care, but not enough to make my life any different. You know,
Right.
it's not like if they have a 500 Patreon backers, Rob can fucking not work and just kick back making game magazines. It's just never going to happen. So I thought I could make a fictional story about a game magazine, a game store that makes a magazine. Um, I'm still doing the Game Cave as a comic, but the magazine part will be non-existent.
Yeah.
It's like Clerks. Do you really know what they sell there? Like they may talk about it, or Movie
Yeah.
Burgers, I guess, to a lesser extent. But it's not even about working at the store. It's about all the other shit, you know. So in that sense, it's more like Mallrats. Does it really matter what's in every store in Mallrats? You know, like not really. It's all the janky adventures they have. So yeah, I just folded it. I quit, you know, and I mean, Brad, I've talked for about 20 minutes. You want to add anything to this? Like,
Yeah. Like, okay, I'll keep it real since there's only gonna be like 6 of you listening, so I don't care.
and and 8 of them are bots.
Yeah.
We get
So
negative stats. That's
we get
how it works
negative.
around here.
It's very it's a very, I guess, humbling experience to give up on something as big as I'd say a dream, or a dream project or something you really put a lot of time into, whether it be a job, restoring a car, or whatever it is. When Rob had an opportunity to get me hired at his job at Sea Life, the t-shirt company, I literally I cashed in everything I had money wise. I spent all my savings to go there, which in hindsight, maybe I should have went down for a week or so or whatnot. I don't know. It was just, the excitement of, oh my God, I get to finally have a true art job. This is my dream. I've always wanted it.
Right, you gotta have a job where you're being creative.
Right. And that's all I've ever wanted. It doesn't matter if I don't become, I gave up on wanting to be like a Marvel cover artist a long time ago, shit like that. As long as I'm being creative and I can pay the bills and keep my wife, I had a house over my wife, things like that, I'm fine with it. So as long as I'm being creative. But I went there, and you helped me out as much as you could. The boss, no slight against him, but he just wasn't ready to have somebody new that just didn't know the ropes. I mean, he wasn't willing to train me. It was bad from the get-go. I got there, I couldn't log into my computer for 2 hours. He got there, he's like, why aren't you working? It was just from the moment I got there, it was like, this is real. This is a real life. This is hard shit. And, a week went by, and Rob called me and said, hey, he's going to fire you, but it's going to be like in a month. Like, he'll let you struggle for a couple weeks. But by then I would have spent what little pennies I had left on maybe a new apartment or a place. And I was in my car. I pulled over and I cried because I was like, I had to like come to terms with, okay, I have to just face the facts that I have to give up on this dream.
I had to call you at my father's grave.
Yeah.
I was literally at my father's grave having this conversation with you,
Yeah.
knowing that if my art director had found out I had the conversation with you, he'd fucking deny it and tell me I'm being crazy and, you know what I mean,
Right.
take it out on me. But the writing's on the wall, Brandon, like, you
Yeah.
know? And I've been trying to fight that writing with this project left and right,
Yeah.
And my wife has just seen me spend countless amounts of time trying to make it work. And here's the thing. I think the idea of doing a magazine like a comic book with fictional characters and 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 integrating comic book panels and fake dialogue and making it fun, I think that idea works. Making it look all retro, all that stuff. It's just too much for one dude.
Yeah.
It's too much for one dude to play all the games, write the fucking reviews, write them all in different character voices, design all the characters, capture all the fucking media, design all the screens, make the layouts look as high quality as I made them look. And every time it comes down to, well, why don't you just do less? Why don't you do less? Rob, that's what people tell me. If you just do less, it doesn't really matter. I've been hearing that my whole life. Brandon, you always hear these motivational speeches. Always give your put in 300%. Always give in, maximum effort all the time. Bro, I fucking do maximum effort all the time, and all anyone ever
Mm.
tells me to do is to do less.
Right.
I'm constantly being told, dude, you're doing too much. And I keep looking around like, then you fucking do it. If I'm
Yeah.
doing it wrong, someone else step up and show me how to do it. I was watching this documentary. Anytime I have struggle in life, I just go back to a Hayao Miyazaki documentary because the man's complicated. And I'm not gonna say I relate to Hayao Miyazaki. A lot of people love his works, but I do believe there's tremendous value in watching anytime you can watch any sort of window into someone's life who's done as much as he has creatively. I want to hear what he has to say. And there's
Right.
this scene around the newer documentary, Never Any Man. So he's doing this. He'd already retired finally again. He's retired many times. And he's making a short little film for the Ghibli Museum. It's going to use CGI for the main characters. And he's working with these young animators. And at first, he's super excited. And he figures all he has to do is draw these loose drawings, and then you know, they'll just CGI it, and he'll give some input, and it'll work out. And at some point, he realizes that's not going to happen. You know, like he's going to have to do the work. Like he calls it a hassle. He's like, "Oh, this is a hassle." It's like it's always a hassle. He's trying not to make it a hassle, but the work is a fucking hassle. Like it's, and I realize I find myself in that similar position where I can't expect you to be me. You know what I mean? I can't expect your wife to be me creatively. And in the documentary, they keep asking his producers and other friends that I work with him. He keeps trying to find another him, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm like, there isn't another him, you know, like to do animation. Like he can't do it alone. A game magazine can't be done by one person. Not how I want to do it. It just can't, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know any writers at my level who give a shit. I don't know any graphic designers at my level who give a shit. I don't know any other artists at my level who give a shit. And everyone willing to work for fucking free because there's no money in it. You know what I mean?
Huh.
I just don't know anybody. I've spent thousands of dollars of my own money paying writers. I've paid writers probably 2, 3 grand, dude. You know, and I can't use any of their stuff. And I realized because fucking most of these game reviews suck ass. Like, I'm sorry, they're just not very good. They're always
Yeah.
about their childhoods and where they were. And I keep going back to this isn't about your childhood. This is about, it has to be right then and there when it came out, you know. And then when I would get a couple people to do some stuff, they do well for a review, but I need 12 or 14 of them and they'd fall apart. You know, they disappear. I had one guy turn in a fantastic Turtles review and then disappeared for 4 months. You know, what am I supposed to tell my backers? What are you working on? I don't know. You know, just waiting for another review. What's 4 times 14? That's how long it's going to take to get all these reviews written.
Hmm.
That wasn't the plan when I made the game magazine. The plan when I made the game magazine is I had Bacon and Wesley. They were going to write all the reviews. I would rewrite them. Um, and do these layouts. And I had all the layouts pre-made. And a lot of layouts were going to feature custom art, not a ton of screens. But dude, when Wesley and Bacon turned in the reviews, it was just this constant. And I would go down my grandma, and I was like, "What the fudge? Like, what are you doing, dude?" You know. And so I started changing reviews, and then Bacon flipped out on me, and Wesley didn't want to. He's like, I just don't know if I could put my name on it if you're changing review. I'm like, no one could understand. I was like, you didn't understand the project when I started. I explained this
Yeah.
clearly. How many times have I explained things clearly to you, Brandon, and then you went off and did some other shit, and then you come back to me and go, oh, I mean,
Never.
but it's happened. How many times?
Oh yeah. Couple.
And I remember the last time. I don't know when it was, but I remember the moment when you tried to tell me I didn't say that shit, and I had fucking recorded it. I'm like, here's me recording it, and you went, well, that wasn't what was in my head. And I clearly said in the recording, make certain you listen to what I say and not what is going on in your head while I'm talking. This is the problem, especially with creative types. When people talk to them, they just go into movie mode. You know that Homer Simpson face where he stares off into the distance? They picture whatever they're saying as a movie, and then their mind just ADDs across 70 different channels. And they never hear what it is you're saying. Like, man, that's fine at home, but when I'm at work, I pay attention to everything. Scarily so, dude. Mostly because I'm used to working with people who will hold every little thing against me. And
Yeah.
Brandon's worked in some of those rooms. He's seen it.
Oh
And
yeah.
they will hold if they created a password on a computer you've never used and you can't log into it, you're being held responsible for that.
I did for the first 2 hours of my first
For the
day.
first 2 hours of your first career ever. You know what I mean? You sit down at a computer you've never touched before. It has a password you wouldn't know next from Sunday, and you
Yeah.
are being yelled at for not working.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Why are you just sitting there? I was like, I can't get in the computer. Well, what's the password? I'm like, I just started working here. I have no idea.
So take into like just the idea that I've worked under those conditions for
Yeah.
10, 12-hour days till 2, 3, 4 a.m.s. These are people I've slept on the floor at places like this to get jobs out, man. Slept on the floor. Bathed that up in the goddamn restrooms, man. You know what I mean? Just washing down your junks and stuff. Just can't go home. Like, dude, I've done all that shit, man.
Yeah.
And so when
I
I got
mean,
people telling me I'm fucking lazy, You know what I mean? Like first I get angry, then I get depressed. So I made that podcast today. That was first I got angry. I rightfully did not record that one because it's just gonna sound like I'm not taking responsibility, you know.
Right.
And then you know, I got super depressed. I decided, well, I'll record this one, and then I got sick. So what the podcast doesn't show you is I wasn't feeling well that night. Every bone in my back fucking killed. I got these injuries from the military, and it just so happens the weather shifted here from 90 to 40 degrees.
Hmm.
So it hit my, that shift hits, it can hit your bones. It hit my bones, and I got some weird stomach flu, which I probably attribute to some form of digestive stress, you know? Um, when everything wants to bubble up, but you can't, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then my legs started hurting, so I couldn't even lie down. It was ridiculous. It's just mental stress of the worst order, and it took me out for a couple days. I even told my work. I said, I'm not going to be invoicing for these days. I need the time off. I'm not feeling well. So I lose money out there. So now, on top of the loan I got to take out, this has now cost me 2 days of work, paid work. I don't get unpaid work. Every day I'm not working, I don't get paid.
Yeah.
So welcome to freelance. And go, well, that's the choice you made. Those are those fucking people. The ones that like to tell you, I always tell people to live their dreams, but that's the choice you made. Like, what world do these people live in, dude, where they're just so unhappy with themselves that anytime anyone does anything that isn't perfectly working out for them, they go, well, see, you earned that. You should have known better. And then if you do well in life, dude, if you do well in life, they go, you couldn't possibly understand what I'm going through. Like those fucking,
Right.
those are just, I mean, to use the lack of a better term, they're fucking like psychic vampires, right? Like that whole energy vampire nonsense.
Yeah.
They're fucking ghouls, man. You know? And when I keep ghouls out of my life, dude. Josh was like the last fucking shady person I kept in my life. Like he'd been there for a long time, you
Hmm.
know? And I always say this, it's like everyone knows that used car salesman, but hey, when he's your used car salesman,
Right.
he's gotten me I used to talk my work way down. He'd talk to clients and get my work up to above pay grade, you know? Um, I didn't expect him to fucking do that. He didn't expect himself to do that. I remember he just typed, well, I gotta take care of my family. I'm like, no shit, apparently. So whatever he did, dude. And now it's just a situation where it's like, what am I supposed to do? Just stop everything I'm doing, make a game magazine? Why? What if you love it? Think about this. What if you love it and I fucking never make another one again? This has been
The
like the
joke.
number.
That's like the Joker.
Well, this has like been my number one problem since the beginning. What if this is the one that takes off? And this is the weird mentalness. What if this is the one that's successful and I never want
Right.
to do it again? Now I'm stuck doing this forever. When you're in that situation, like maybe you go back on a date with an ex. You know what I mean? You had too good a time and now you're scared about, I don't know,
Right.
what if I'm stuck with them again? Like like, you know what, man, just get out of it. And if I'm paying the price, if I'm just gonna take the hit, then I should not be saddled with doing anything.
Right.
That's the bonus to taking the financial hit is I'm not required to make one piece of anything. Like some people have asked me, well, would you be willing to do a piece of art custom? And I'm like, nope. You know, I don't need to do more free art.
Right.
Like I'm gonna have to take the loan out anyway. And you go, well, this will save you $100. It ain't gonna help in interest, guys. Like it's gonna help somewhat. Please, if you want to support me, just if you want to support me and you're a backer, the best way to support me is just say I don't want a refund. Because I swear to fucking Christ, I didn't spend your money on a goddamn Disneyland vacation. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's the way you can help me. That's the part that makes me cry and go, man, people, there is good in the world. Some people understand the difference. But if you're like, hey, I support you, but I really need my money back, then I absolutely understand that too. You know, I'm not going to be mad at you. I get it. Where I draw the line is, could you make some form of this or make me something to like, no, no, dude, like that, I don't want to do it, you know?
Right.
I just want to clean, dude. Brandon, is there any baby steps out of a relationship?
Mm,
Next weekend we'll be out of it, and then you'll
all
come back.
right.
Maybe on holidays we'll still get together, so we're not alone. Blink 182's coming in town. Oh wait, they don't have a lead singer anymore. Like I don't know, Brandon. Like it has to be. Do you understand where I'm coming from with all this? Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, it's if you're willing to bear the burden and the loss, nobody really has a right to tell you at that point what you should do or how you should do it. You know, uh, and not to bring it back on me. It's just the only example I have really as far as close to this is just after that, I told people, hey, I'm quitting the job. And, I had to go back to her mom's house for the weekend. They're like, oh, well, you should do this or you should try this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. They're like, you should try to get a job here in California. I'm like, no, I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to take the hit financially. You were nice enough to give
so let me
you or,
you're kind of stumbling. Just
sorry.
let me clarify this. So going
Yeah.
back to the story of you quitting the art job, right?
Yes.
You're saying that you told your mother or friends and
I,
family,
yes. I told my family and also
and they
her,
tried to
her mother in
negotiate
law.
you out of it somehow, right?
Oh, yeah. Her
Yeah.
mother in law, or my mother in law, I'm sorry, was telling me, "Oh, well, let's try to get you a job here in California, or let's see if." And my mom was like, "Oh, well, call him back. Maybe you could, make it work." Da, da, da. I'm like, "No, it's just I'm cutting my losses. I'm spending the last bit of money I have to get a U-Haul to come back to Arizona, and that's it. That's it. I'm gonna go into the hole on this. I'm taking the financial burden. I don't need anybody else telling me what I should do or not do because they're not in my shoes. I took a shot at one of my dream jobs as far as creative wise. It failed. I took
And
my
and
loss.
because I felt obligated, you took a bit of a financial hit a couple months later, and I
Yep.
bailed you out of that. Not out of like benefit to me, but because I felt that, hey, you wouldn't have been in that position had you not driven all the way across, the fucking desert.
Right.
So it's like I know what it's like to fucking own my responsibilities. You know what I mean? I don't fucking want to hear shit about it. Like that's the anger part. But then I'm like, well, I understand their point. They spent $30 and it means the world to being facetious.
Yes.
It's so important. Now at the way of inflation when it's probably worth like 60, right? You know what's weird is I was looking up I wanted to talk some shit to my friend. The minute I felt better, I'm like, let's talk some shit. So I get my health back and I immediately fucking start picking on my friends. So it chapter 2 ain't doing so well in the theaters. And I'm looking at it chapter 2 and it chapter 1 and like it's not making nearly as much. But I was looking at it did 240 something million dollars or 340 million dollars in the theaters domestically, the first movie. And then it said adjusted for inflation, which is only a couple years ago. And it was like already $1 million difference in 2 years. Like to take that 347 is now worth 349 in 2 years because of inflation. I'm like, inflation's already gone up $2 million. Like 347 is now worth 349. So
Yeah.
what is that $30 over 6 years? Like that's probably closer to 75. Has it doubled in 6 years? Or is it, I don't know. This is where I don't know the math. Someone out there, if you do math, do the math for me. But let's just say it's $60. It's doubled, in 6 years. Maybe
Yeah.
it's even fucking triple. Now it's $90. So then I'm like, well, a $90 hit, I get it. Do you understand? Like I am sympathetic. Like, even when I'm angry, the other side of my head they go, you need to actually do the math, Rob. You know? So then I go, well, and then the true that thing inside of me, Brandon, that I sometimes I wish I didn't have, goes, if anyone spent $1, right? all those fucking comic books I read when I was a kid where you do the right thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you do justice. Like I believed in all that. It's in me, even if it's $1. And I'm like, fuck. You know what I mean? I hear I got that Denzel Washington looking at me like, you know, God, he's fucking right. Denzel's right. I gotta do the right thing. You know, even if I hate this fucking dude, you know, or this other guy or whatever, even if I can't stand all this, whatever, you know, am I gonna make the book or not? You know, if I'm
Yeah.
unwilling to stop everything I'm doing now to make the book, print it and ship it, then I should just fucking bite the bullet. And you know what? I'm just unwilling to do it now. You know? So that's it. That's the reality. And I remember that came for me. I know you left GameFan. You had to go and GameFan when you left that T-shirt company, and you had to like, and your friends are all negotiating with you. Ooh, maybe you could stay. Maybe we can give you a place, and you can talk them through. Hey, you know, when GameFan didn't pay me for 2 years, and I had to finally quit, I had people trying to tell me the same thing. Hey, maybe you know you should just talk to them. Nah, 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 nah. And I'm like, what is there left to do here? You know, like I made 7 issues. It's not working. I was then in financial and physical health ruin. I have to quit and go back to the drawing board. I have to quit and get a job. And I was fortunate
Yeah.
enough to get another job in t-shirts, you know? But I mean, I spent years and years, man, you know, like working late hours to pay all that shit off, you know? And so now I'm like, so now here we are, right? Now here we are starting December 1st. I'll start those returns and they'll be good for 12 months and then I'm out. You know, if you get
Yeah.
back to me on December 1st, December 2nd, 2020, not my fucking problem. Like seriously. Like I'm making it clear to everyone. You got 12 from December 1st, 2019 to December 1st, 2020. I'm paying these out. And then I'm out. That's fair enough. I can't keep this going the rest of my life. You know, 6 years from now, some guys go, I remember way back then. I'm not my problem. You know, you have the this is a better deal than I'm getting right now from Equifax, who's trying everything they can to keep me from getting my $125 for losing all my fucking data. It's
Right.
crazy. Now I gotta send them like all this proof of shit that I. It's funny, man, because everyone else signed up for that $125 refund. Do you know about that?
No.
Equifax had this data breach, and I was using them for data security, all this stuff, and credit checking or whatever, credit monitoring, and anyone that was using it was going to get a $125 refund because of the government settle out. But everyone fucking signed up for it. And then they're like, we didn't expect to actually pay anything back. So now they're fucking like trying to find ways to pay nobody.
Uh-huh.
And so I qualified for everything, got in super early because I was there, You know me, like, bam, free money, I'm back.
Right.
And so now I gotta like submit paperwork proving I had them and I've used other creditor monitoring services and I have, but it's just like you little dicks, you know.
Yeah.
So, uh, but that's it. That's all I'm gonna do. And then then it's like, well, what next? You know. So what next is I gotta finish Megavisions issue 9. No more working on my comic until Megavisions issue 9 is in the can because I can't do the comic and Megavisions. I thought maybe I could do the comic during the week and Megavision on the weekend. It's fucking with my head. So it's not happening. So I got to just focus on Megavisions, finishing that up along with my day. I just never talk about my day job,
Yeah.
doing concept art. So it's like, guys, I'm still putting in 8 or 9 hours a day drawing concept art. Like when I talk about working on Megavisions or Game Cave, you should understand like that comes after doing an 8 to 9 hour day.
Yeah.
Not including making dinner, cleaning kitchen, running errands. So I'm running 12 to 16-hour days. You know, like that's what I'm talking about. I just don't shout that off the top of the rafters.
Yeah.
So when that's done, then I'm just gonna focus on Little Reapers, and after Little Reapers, I'm gonna focus on Game Cave Part 1, and then if that goes well, then I'll go back and do Jolly Daggers. and then I'll go do GameCube Part 2. Like, I'll just start doing my own comics. The real fear I have, though, Brandon, is that I'm going to do another Kickstarter. So here's the thing, I want to print my shit and ship it to people. The deal is to never do a Kickstarter in which something isn't finished to begin with. But I won't
Right.
lie, Brandon, if I'm not fucking fearful of fucking up another one. Even though I've already shipped 3 of them successfully, or 4 or 5, I don't know. I've shipped all of them except fucking this one. And the one I refunded with the t-shirts. But there's a part of me that's like, what if you goof it up again, you know? What if you goof it up again, you do it to yourself?
Yeah.
But I imagine that's just jitters, you know? You want to add anything, Brandon? You want to just sit there in silence? Like, I don't know. Why do I bring you on this podcast? Like, what?
My heavy breathing and occasional rights.
I always like how I go to you for some affirmation, and I'm like, who believes Brandon anyway?
No one.
Like, does anyone take your word for it? When I go, Brandon, am I being crazy? I'm waiting for someone to go, Brandon's just your yes man. He's my yes potato. He's not my yes man. I mean, you've told me when you don't agree. You get real scared too when you disagree. You go, hey, uh,
Yeah, man, you can be temperamental sometimes, so I got to approach it very, very calmly. You see a cat, sitting there on the ledge and it looks all nice and peaceful and you're like, oh, this cat's gonna be sweet, and you get close to it, and the cat's like, hey, I'll claw your eyes out, and you're like,
that's what
oh
it's like to
shit,
wake me up in the morning.
it is.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's true.
I choose my words wisely, where I'm like, hey Rob, yeah, not funny. So
I just want everyone to know if you're a fan of the Game Cave universe, the project itself, that's not going anywhere. You know, like, well, I mean,
right,
you know what I mean? I don't mean it's not going. It's just gonna sit in that fucking corner. You know, I'm still like these characters, this universe. I'm committed to. It's all I got, like in terms of comics for myself. You know, I
right,
never intended to draw mainstream comics. I just think like that's the thing I've talked about so many times when it comes to my childhood. I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to draw mainstream comics. One, I don't care. Like I legitimately don't give a shit enough about Batman or Spider-Man to fucking care. And two, I think mainstream comics generally suck. Like, and by the way, I get that that's the Comicsgate asshole fucking thing to do now. Mainstream comics suck. They sucked in the '90s too. Like I only fucking liked a few of them, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there's probably only a few now that are really good. You know, I'm not saying they all suck. Just most of them do. They always have. I always preferred the comics that were being made by people who could do whatever they wanted.
yeah,
You know, now we call them indie comics, but look, they were called creator-owned comics when I was a kid. So Bone was one of them I read. Spawn was one of them I read. Uh, Obviously Savage Dragon. You go, well, just Image Comics, Rob? No, man, I fucking read Strangers in Paradise, Pete the Peeled Postal Worker, anything that Oni did, Coffin, all the Kevin Smith comics. You know, fucking got a whole wall of them. Manga's creator owned. You know, like
yeah,
support those dudes. So, but Bone and Spawn and if you were talking about mainstream, that was like as mainstream as I got was Bone and Spawn, and most of my friends didn't fucking even know what they were. You know, and they
yeah,
read comics all the freaking time. They're like, you know what's going on with Onslaught? Remember that shit?
yeah,
I I'm like, what's Onslaught? I'd look at it. I'm like, nah, I don't really want to. No, it's not my thing, man. You know, when Onslaught appears in a Capcom fighting game, I'll be there. Like,
yeah.
that's how I like my weird '90s Marvel. Like that. Remember that DC versus Marvel thing? That was that
Hmm.
amalgam.
Well,
It
that
was
was when they merged, but yeah,
fucking ridiculous. You know, all my friends were excited about it. I remember looking at that, just like, you're out your goddamn mind. Like, like this is Captain America looks so bad. And the only one that was remotely interesting was, I guess, the Wolverine Batman thing. It's so ridiculous, dude. It is just is it just he looked like a really bad S&M toy, like it
Yeah.
he looked like that knife that the dude in 7 used, like I don't know, man. It just wasn't my thing. And it was because those comics, how do I say this? I'm not going to say it's because people couldn't die. It's that I just felt that no matter what happened, there was never any finality to the story. Rightfully so, in a way. Like, I mean, do you? It's not like I want Batman to end, but I certainly don't think the animated series should have gone past the '90s in its incarnation, because like you can only keep it going for so long at a quality level for so long before you need new blood. Does that make any sense?
Right. Yeah.
Like you can only do something for like a TV show is good for about 4 or 5 seasons. Anything past that, when you're like, how many guest appearances do they have to trick me into seeing this DC show again? Like who's coming on this? They got Tom Welling. Really? They got Tom Welling? That they actually got Tom Welling. I'm gonna laugh when Tom Welling shows up on that fucking DC show and he never wears that Superman emblem, just like he never wore it in Smallville. They CGI'd that on him. The final shot.
At the end.
Yeah, and it's the Superman Returns emblem too. No, it's funny. Even the last shot of him, it's CGI'd as he never, because he made some comment like he will never wear it. So don't expect him to. Look, if he does, then
Right.
I'll pretend I drink a Red Bull. But I mean, whatever. So I love creator-owned comics. Like the ones I'm reading now, I guess they're not creator-owned, but they're fun as shit. Like the Vader Zim comics. I love them. I love the Invader Zim stuff, which I know shocks people. Like when they want to hear, Rob, you read Saga. They want to hear I read something cool and edgy, and I'm like, no, man, I read Invader Zim, and I read Delicious and Dungeon, and the Konosuba light novels, and I feel like I let people down. Like when I tell them they have to realize I don't read the House of M. You know?
You shut your mouth. That was a good run.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking the House of X. They do these House of Nons. I don't
I
understand what that
didn't read
means.
House of X.
I don't understand what it means. All I know is I hear the house of something, and I'm like, I just don't care.
It's a house party. That's what it is.
Now I would read that X-Men House Party, and it's just them all having a party in a mansion. It goes terribly wrong. And if Yona and Vasquez wrote it, you know, from Invader Zim, oh, that would be awesome. But look, I have a difference. Like my tastes in comics are not probably the same as most the people listening to this. This is also why I don't like shitting on people when they're like, I like that movie Rob hated. Because I'm like, well, I love shit you're going to hate. So there's no fucking reason. But you're
Right.
probably going to like what I make. So it's like, I like what Rob makes, but I don't like what he watches. Well, this is what comes out of. I take all the shit you hate and, you know what I mean? And out comes this thing you love. It's the pudding. Dude, that scene in Invader Zim Into the Florpus where the dad's making pudding and just there's fucking pudding everywhere in that house.
Yeah.
People haven't seen Enter the Florpus. I had to watch it twice. There's fucking puppets. Now, first off, I didn't think it could get any better, but when they get to the puppet Zim, I know I'm spoiling it, but fuck you if you haven't seen the movie. Like, it's so good, dude.
Oh, it's so great.
I just want Invaders and puppets. I just cannot not stop looking at the Invaders and puppets. It's so good. But the pudding, I just I would just love to be in that room where you're just like, we get to the pudding sequence and the
Yeah.
execs just look at you like you're out of your goddamn mind. But when it comes to Game Cave, you know how many times I get people telling me, Brandon, I don't want the game magazine, I just want the comic. Or
Yeah.
I just want the game magazine part. I don't really care to read a comic. And I get it because I never pitched it as a comic game magazine. I pitched it as a game magazine. You know? So, whatevs. Whatevs. Anything else, Brandon? You're
You
gonna
guys should.
you're gonna say no. I'm gonna cut you off, but you're gonna say no. But you really should try to add some fucking thing, like something, Brandon. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, little potato.
uh,
Plop,
uh,
plop out a thought, a tater thought. Like I need a sound effect. Bling. You
yeah, just pop, plop, plop, plop. At least you're owning up to it. I've had Kickstarters that get fully funded, and I've seen them just not do anything. They took the money, and I've seen Kickstarters take a lot of years, and I've never gotten
Well,
mad
I
over
can
it.
never ruin my reputation. I mean, I care about my reputation. You know, like despite what people think, I go out of my way. To like help people. To like, I care. Look, man, none of my family gave a shit about me when I was a kid. They really didn't. Like, I was really just people were pretty certain I was going to end up a total failure in life. Like I know that seems like, oh, surely they never felt that way. They did. You could see it in there. They would tell me, "No, we believe in you," and then you look at him, oh, he's fucked. Cut to Rob living in a cardboard box. So they really had no hope for me. So it matters that anything I do, whether it's a pass or a fail, gets handled in the most responsible way possible. And I don't blame anybody else for working with Josh. I don't even blame Josh. I blame me. That dude's come back and asked me to work with him again. I'm like, you gotta be out your fucking mind. you know? You gotta be out your fucking mind, dude. Like, what world do you live in where I'm gonna work with you again?
Yeah.
Seriously. You know what my wife would do? you
It wouldn't be
know?
pretty.
It wouldn't be pretty. It ended in divorce and she'd get my cat. Somehow she'd take, like it is what it is, man. Like, um, but I seriously, here's the other thing. The last thing I'll add to this, and this is something that had been in the back of my mind. I have always felt artistically like everyone else gets to do the cool shit and I'm stuck making the work. You ever
Yeah.
have that feeling like,
Hmm.
like I don't get to draw whatever I want. I have to draw this stuff now. I have to draw this. I don't get to draw for fun. A lot of it came from lack of talent. When I was in college, I literally had no time to draw. I was in art school and I had no time to draw. I was too busy doing art projects for school and working full time and living out my car. And then I immediately, while I was in school, went into a full time job doing art. So I was creatively exhausted when I did get some time off because that art job paid me better than Kinko's. I was too exhausted to do anything until I graduated. And then I started my own. Then I started doing my own comics, and then I learned drawing comics for indie publishers is a fucking nightmare. For me, it was. It was a horrific experience,
Yeah.
you know. And then uh, the game fan thing was the first time I full on took a project that I really wanted nothing to do, but I was trying not to go back to t-shirts. And that just set me on this path of, not getting to do the thing that I wanted to do, and to the point where Game Fan failed, and then I got burnt out, and I blame myself. Game Cave as a game magazine was me trying to like ultimately find a way to make Game Fan work, you know? And it's really simple, and I've had the answer the whole time. Game magazines will never work. It'll never work. They'll never work. Comics, at least people can appreciate the effort. They can't, there's no one appreciates the effort it takes to make these magazines the way I make them. Every now and then, man, I had this guy over at Too Many Games, graphic designer, flip out because he could see the amount of effort it takes to do it. You know, he
Yeah.
flipped out, and it was like, it was blowing away the people at the booth. They're like, "Shit, I guess it does take a lot to make this." I'm like, "Yeah, it really fucking takes a lot to make this. Like, you'll find out because you're gonna be making it soon. And it's gonna be your fucking hell." Um, But with at least comics, I put up one page. People are like, "Oh my god, look! This actually looks like there's effort." So, um, all I have to do, man, moving forward, and this is the thing I want to leave on the most, is to never feel pressured to push content out to get it done. Like, the goal is to turn this into, I'm not going to say systematic, but that once I have the outline, then I can start to do my process. And my process is I come up with the roughie on my iPad based on my outline where I just literally blob in bullshit. And then I take that iPad and I just put a piece of paper over it. I trace it and I like to sketch out the page. And then I'll take that, scan it, and use it as a guide for final art. And the reason why, and I have, Brandon, this is something else for the past few months I've been trying not to talk about, but if people stuck with this long, I'll give you a little nugget into Rob's mind, is I
Uh
keep trying to find a way around. If I just cut out this one process, I can make it go faster, right? Like,
oh.
what
Right.
if I just do the blobby and I take those blobbies and I go right into Photoshop? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Um, it's not going to work. There's one process. I have an outline. I blob it on the iPad on the living room in the morning, free of whatever. I can sit outside, enjoy the whatever. Then I trace that on a piece of paper and I do the layout because I figure things out. I found that when it comes to background specifically, anything that has to do with the background, building, architecture, I figure it out on the physical page better than digitally.
Hmm.
And then I take that, uh, if however long it can take me an hour, it can take me 4 hours sometimes to figure out a page, man. And then I will scan, draw, and build that page out. And however long it takes me to do a graphic novel, it takes me a year. It takes me a year, dude. I don't give a shit, you know? But I'm not going to be like, gotta get 2 pages out this week. You've been experiencing a little bit of this now with the secret project I got you working on. And
Yeah.
I have been, this is why I tell you, it kind of comes full circle to moving forward, is I've had Brandon doing a practice project because I want to put him on a comic. So he's been working on this practice project. And the one thing I've been telling you the most, right, Brandon, is I don't want you rushing through. I want to know how long is it actually taking you to do something,
Yeah.
right? And do you understand now what I'm talking about? When
Oh
I
yeah.
say when you start doing this weird time negotiation where you feel like, you're at the table with the joker and you're trying to negotiate with time and cut, if I just take this out and I go over here and we give you this and you give you that and maybe you won't blow up it's never going to work. You're negotiating with like a mythology. The fact is there is a process that will emerge through your certain level of talents and the way you think. It's like one hand, the amount of talent you have, the other hand, how you think, and maybe, if there's a third hand, the time you have to do it. I'm less concerned about the time. More concerned about the process, like what produces the right result and be consistent with that result. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And you've been going through that. You want to talk about that experience? Like,
It's definitely been like there's times before where if I'm at my day job, I'd be like, oh, that'll be done in an hour. Thinking I can get it done in an hour, but you're like, hey, when will this be done? And I'm like, this weekend. And you're like, yeah, realistically, and I'm like, it's gonna take me like 2 weeks, and even so, it's like I'll show you something,
and
you'll
you knew,
correct
hold
it.
on, I want to hold on that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
knew the 2 week answer when I first said it, but you
yeah.
felt you had to say this weekend because you thought I needed to see it by Monday because it's taking you
Right.
long. Right. This is this this level of honesty and just the reality of how long something takes to make it at the right level is something that we just cannot. I don't know if it's human psyche or American. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's exclusively American. It exists worldwide, but it is a problem. Um, and I have done my best over the last 10 years to omit much of it from my life. But I found when it comes to comics, I still have a little bit of that. Because the last time I did them, at any kind of regularity was 10 years ago. And I keep trying to find a way. Well, if I just do it this fast and I get this good, and then that means I'll be good enough to get hired. I'm just never going to be good enough to get hired to do comics. I'm doing these for
Right.
me and people who think like me. You know, that's all I'm doing them for. And at best, this comics work will get me work elsewhere that will pay me to do other shit, but not to draw comics. I guarantee you that. You know, like there's no fucking way DC or Marvel looks at Little Reapers and goes, "Will you draw Superman?" Like, will never happen. Like, will you draw Ms. Marvel? Like, will never happen.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to do is be like, "Oh, I got to get this out by this weekend," knowing it's really a week. Now, that being said, Brandon, there is a point where you do have to push in a project.
Yeah.
And that's the question. When to, I'm not going to say crunch mode, but when to push the extra hours, right?
Hmm.
That's what Miyazaki would call the hassle. There is some point where it's going to be a little bit painful. It's going to be painful. It's going to be painful and it's going to suck for a bit. Um, that's, for the lack of a better explanation, and I'm not even comparing it to child labor, but the birthing pains of a project, right?
Hmm.
There is a certain point where it's like, this is going to turn into work now. Um, the thing is that can't be normal. That can't be Brandon getting 4 hours of sleep every night because that's the new normal until you die. Um,
Right.
that's that's modern capitalism. So at some point there will be goals, and then there's going to be these little moments of what in development we call sprints, where you need to kind of push a little harder. You know, just a little bit harder to get through certain things. So, um, where I would look at that would be like if you have a 22-page comic, if you were consistent for the first 18 pages, push out the last. Maybe the first 12 to 18 pages are normal speed, then do the last bit faster, and then the cover kind of crank out over. You know what I mean? Like at some point, just push a little further at the end. I prefer, honestly, my personal way of working, I like to work harder in the beginning and slow down at the end. I would prefer at the beginning of a project to work a little faster,
Hmm.
but that only comes with familiarity. If you don't know your characters, you have no idea what you're drawing, and a lot of designs going into everything you're doing. In the case with Little Reapers and Game Cave, I don't know what any of this shit looks like until I literally just, I have very little clue what it looks like when I write it down. Like even as an artist, I don't really think that way. I I think in terms of I just see the characters as blobs of color because I'm a fucking crazy person. Like, I have that synesthesia, so I just see like that's a red character, that's a green character, that's a gold one, and wings. Like I just see little blobs and shapes in my head.
Right.
I have no clue what it'll look like. Um, I'm amazed sometimes, and I'm like, how the fuck am I an artist? How do I see? I probably should have been a musician. Like when you think about seeing things in shape and abstracts. I don't know. I wanted to play music when I was a kid, but my parents were like, that shit costs money. So that didn't happen. But but you're at the point now where like I don't know if pushing's gonna help. You're just too new at it.
Yeah.
I'm at a point where I can do crunch. I can do crunch. I know. So at some point, Brandon will do over a couple years, we'll do a couple different books. You're gonna get to a point where you have a process and then you can crunch. But fucking never push yourself while you're still learning. And so I feel like when it comes,
Done. Done.
I know. Well, that being said, if Brandon, it takes 2 weeks and 2 weeks later you're still working on that one fucking panel, we got a problem. That's
Mm.
something completely different. And I ran into your wife with that problem with some of her work on the magazine side. Is she would go, this is going to take this amount of time, and we get to that time, she's like, oh, I need another day or two. And I'm like, what is the problem? And she'd go, well, here's what I'm working on. And I would tell her like, okay, at no point do you need to shoulder this. It was a real problem. She had a point,
Yeah.
but and this has happened a few times. I'm like, look, Every time you come across this kind of problem, you need to come back to me. Like, you need to go, crank the
Bro,
sketch phone.
I've been not to throw her under the bus, but I've been trying for 8 years of being together. I'm like, listen, if you have a problem, life problem, not art problem, just call me, text me. You don't got to do it on your own. It's a
So that's
very
why now when I give her like, I give her, I give her like, uh, goal lines. That goal line hits, you know me, man. I'm on the phone. You know what I mean? She'd probably be like, Rob fucking text me twice today. That's weird. Like, yeah, yeah. I need to know where you're at. I need to know
yeah.
what it looks like because, she may not tell me, oh, this is a problem. So I get all that. That is something where I do feel you got shafted from, an art director where it's like, no matter as much as you want your art staff to be you as the head artist, Miyazaki learned they're not going to be you. You know,
Yeah.
you can train them as much as you want. At the end of the day, they're still going to be them with your training, but they're not going to be you. You can't clone. I can't expect anyone to be me. Um, so, but what you can do is train them to the standard expected to an extent. To an extent, and then there's just going to be limits. That's just the way it is. It's okay. So I mean, you've shown me some panels of things you're working on, and I'm not gonna be like I was like that looks amazing. I would say this though, we're in a world of difference between that and that fucking comic you made 7 years ago, right?
Oh, 100%. It's the thing is now you can see that I'm actually trying to make things shapes full. I'm trying to draw shapes through legs, arms, hands, feet, and not just before where everything was flat. I mean, I have a tendency sometimes to do flat just because my brain hasn't on there yet. But you can see now when I'm trying to, I may not do
Well,
it
no one can
right.
see it because no one's seen this shit. By the
Right.
way, people will see this shit. So all I'm
No,
having Brandon
I
do,
mean we can see it.
all right,
I
Brandon,
can
just
see it. You
tell
can
them what
see
I've
it.
been having you do because this is ridiculous.
You've been having me do basically watch the first pilot of Rick and Morty and redraw a couple pages of it in a comic book format. With sticking mostly to the Rick and Morty style, but also fleshing out a few shapes and things like that, giving it a little more 3D feel instead of an animated
Yeah, you're
storyboard feel.
translating those episodes into little comic book panels, right?
Yes.
Right. And so something you probably couldn't have done 7 years ago. Well, definitely not 7 years ago. 2 years would have been a struggle because we were doing
Yeah.
these little
Oh
mini
yeah.
sketches at the time, and that was a struggle too. So it's taken, I'd say, an active 2 years to get you to the point where you can kind of just start doing this. Like you understand the volume, you understand about character reconstruction, but there is like a ton of work to do. So uh, it's important for me that Brandon understand this because he's going to be drawing some comics in like a Rick and Morty style. So
Yeah.
um, my way of getting out of having to write that right away has been to have him go and do this other shit. Well, you can practice drawing this stuff. So yeah, but that's going to be a comic you're going to be putting on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
It'll
yeah,
be
it's
up.
going to be an Instagram comic. So you'll all see the Rick and Morty stuff. People will be able to see soon enough once it's at a point. Where are you with that, by the way? What do you?
So it's been a great podcast, everybody. We'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'm redrawing after we went over those notes. I'm redrawing that panel, and now I'm coloring that whole page, all the different other
How
panels
long do
on
you
that
think
page.
that'll take?
I want to have that page colored by this weekend.
So 2 weeks. So is it going to be this weekend or 2 weeks? When's it going to be?
1 week.
What is the major trouble with coloring? Like what? Why
It's
does that
just
seem
filling
to?
it on because
I
it's
thought
so.
I thought Clip Studio Paint did all the fucking work for you. You just make dots and it fills in all the shit. Like
Yeah, right.
it doesn't actually do all that, like those fucking videos claim.
No, not at all.
Oh, you still have to do flats and stuff.
Yep.
Well, why not? Why can't you just type in dots and it figure it all out? What's preventing that from happening? Because you're using Clip Studio Paint, so I'm curious to know why it's not solving
Right.
all the. Why is it not doing all the work for you?
I don't. I'd have to
I
watch a
paid
couple
for
more
it.
people's
I fucking
videos on
bought that
YouTube.
copy of Clip Studio Paint.
Right.
$60 fucking. So like, what is holding you back? What is it not doing?
It's a user problem. It's me. It's an interface problem.
So my guess is that whole like automatic flattening thing is it's guessing between 2 points, like it's kind of figuring out where the
I
lines are.
I don't even use it because it's so janky.
Oh, it doesn't actually work.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah. Shocking. Coming back to my other point, the only way to do the work is there's just one way to do the work, you know? And it's doing the work. Like, look, my one of the few art instructors I had in college, Jerry Bryce, uh, who always kept shit real, and I always appreciated that. He worked on Disney films like Oliver and Company and Little Mermaid and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he did all the final character sheets for King of the Hill. And he would just say, "Look, man, they call it the long shortcut, and there's only one shortcut, and it's the long way fucking through." Like, and like if I ever write a fucking book about my life, it's gonna be called the long shortcut. Because there's only one way through all this. It's doing the fucking work. So you have to like be willing to do the work. And if you're not willing to do the work, get out of it. And that's the
Yeah.
point of this whole episode. Is I'm getting out of one form of work to get into others. Now that being said, let me tell you, and this is God's honest fucking truth. I have never once sat down to draw the comic portion of Game Cave in any of its shape or form, whether it's for the main story or for Little Reapers. I have never once sat down to do it and been like, I fucking hate doing this.
Yeah.
It's the only thing, the only part of it when I'm drawing the characters and putting my ideas down where I send you fucking snippets in the middle of the fucking night. Right, Brandon? I'm like, check this
Yeah.
shit out. Like, Yeah.
2 a.m., 4 a.m.
Yeah, I just wake you right up all the time. Like Rob sending me his fucking art again. But so, and I get probably not going to make a big difference in life, but, you know, most of the shit we do won't.
Yeah.
But makes me happy. So that super exciting. Super looking forward to. That being said, I have to go do some shit I don't want to do. I just gotta go fucking finish Mechavisions. I don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. So that's my secret power, forcing myself to work at a high
Hmm.
level, even when I hate doing. You've seen it. You've seen me
I have a
turn
superpower.
Red Bulls.
Forcing myself to eat after I'm full.
Hey, look, you're the one making the fat jokes. I'm not doing that. I just want it to be clear here. I'm not making no fat jokes. But I'll tell you what, though, it's tough when like you get something real good like fucking tacos. Like if the tacos are
Oh,
really
yeah.
good, dude, I'll tell you what gets me, and it's why I haven't had a potato chip since 2012. But I will shove always one extra potato chip down the old chip hole, you know. I'm also looking forward to getting my weekend nights back or my weekends back. So, I don't know if I'll be working on the comic on the weekends. I think I'm going to leave that up to like a decision I can make. But I am looking forward to being able to work on. I'm not gonna say commissions, but you could say commissions, but like traditional commissioned art on the weekends. Not so much. I don't want to be like I'm taking commissions. I have some more painting and shit I want to do. That's for fun. So having some time to do that on the weekends, uh, and then turning this comic stuff into just normal 3 to 4 hours a day, 5 days
Mhm.
a week, and then on the weekends I do my own little commission art and paintings, and then I go back and just turning that into that's the future I want for me. That's
Right.
the future as artists. You got to envision what future do you want for yourself, the part you can control. That's the part I can control, and just be like, at this rate, I'll finish this book sometime between October next year and December. Fine, that's a consistent window. But that's only because I've spent so many years getting to the point where I have the tool sets to do that. Uh, who knows how long it's gonna take Brandon to fucking do anything. How many pages of content would you say you have right now for the Rick and Morty thing?
2.
2 pages. We're at like 1 page a month now, right?
No.
No?
No.
When did you start? It felt like it was like
Uh,
2 months ago.
no, I mean, like, really start probably 6 weeks ago,
6 weeks.
maybe. Yeah, because, like, the first week or two, we didn't really have like a set plan. It was like I got the show and I was trying to do some screenshots, and you had me just sketching out some things like just in my book, that book you had me get. So, and then like probably 2 weeks after we first started talking about it, then I finally like was able to, we got the computer working. I think that was right around the time the computer, I don't know. But then I finally got to start it. So the first page took me the majority of the time just because wrapping my head around trying to draw their style, but also make things full objects. Like, because it's so weird because it's an animated show and a lot of things to me look flat, but it's really not. But when you look at a cartoon, it looks in your brain flat because it's not a CG, it's not a real person. So having to try to like mimic their style, but also,
Well, this
draw
was
it
an
out.
animation lesson we learned too early on was deconstructing. Once we got through all the basics of, we'd spent like a year or two just doing all the basics. Once you understood to an extent basic figure motion, figure eights, walk cycles, all this other stuff, then you would take other bits of animation and rebuild it frame by frame on ones or twos. Ones or twos is 24 frames per second or 12 frames per second. If it was TV animation, we would take twos and build them on ones. If it was 24 frames, we would sometimes they had us flip it, but you would take this animation and reconstruct it just in construction form, no details. So you'd animate the whole thing in construction. And so when a lot of my bots out there ask me, how do I see in 3D? I'm like, man, you know, learning to animate will open your fucking eyes to drawing in a volume. And you can kind of see it now because I'm having you work from the show, not from the Rick and Morty comic or anything like that.
Right.
Because you're working from the show and you're deconstructing the characters into primitives and into three-dimensional models, you can start to see the understructure and how it actually it's there, right? Like you may not be able to see it visually, but it is there. No matter how flat it appears, it's there. So it's it trains your mind subconsciously to see in a volume. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, because comics are a trick. They're just a flat. I mean, we draw three-dimensional we want, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's more like iconography. It kind of works when it's flatter. But in animation, there's just you have to be able to do things three-dimensionally. No matter how flat the cartoon, even South Park is fucking rendered in Maya now. Like
Yeah.
South Park is rendered in a three-dimensional program. Like even though the characters are 2D, they're three-dimensional models. So wasn't all that way, Rob. Is now. So the way to think three-dimensionally, the easiest way through doesn't mean it's easy, but the easiest way through is to understand 2D animation, stretch and squash, primitive construction, and then tearing down items into primitive constructions and then animating them into primitives. Just the act of drawing all the frames and primitives, that's got to be, you probably learn more from that than any other part of it, right? Like,
Yeah. It's funny because now, I mean, you edited some of my stuff, but you could see where I'm trying to draw through things, the feet, the ankles, the arms, the hands, you know what I mean? So it's still cartoony comic, but I'm still trying to draw through the objects because there's still construction in that whole thing that you don't notice it until you actually create it. So
so my blobby method was a way of just shorthanding that drawing through because I could blob in and then because I've drawn through so many times, I can see into the shapes and then I can wrap things around those blobs and not have to spend tons of time constructing lines. I could blob in stuff and then build the final construction over those blobbies. Like it was a way of saying it was one of the few times I negotiated with the time god. One, Like, like I had one deal with the time guide, and the blobby method has actually helped. I use it now at work, man. Like I've been doing these background layouts that are incredibly complex, but because I
Hmm.
apply the blobby method, like I'm doing them in half the time as anyone else with no 3D. And they're like, how are you working out all these details? Like how I'm like, blobs, dude, check it out. And they're like, what? No one gets it, you know? Like they're like, and what's crazy is now, I mean, I can't show any of this now, but I use some of the method. And I'll be using it definitely on Little Reapers, but I'll blob everything in weird neons now. And then I have gradient maps that wipe all that shit out. So it looks, Brandon's seen it, right? Like I've shown you like
Yeah.
these models where you're like, oh, it looks like a city. And then I turn off two different folders and it's like, boom, weird, like, oh my God, like you see the Matrix, like the creepy, gritty, realistic, they're all fucking zombies. They're new, you know, like it's just madness. And then I turn on two other folders and it all cleans up. And I didn't have to do any of that cleanup. And so like, that's just that I look forward to teaching to people over the next several years, like passing that
Right.
information. I'll pass all this information along, folks. Don't ever feel like I learned some shit and I'm keeping it to myself, you know? It's just I don't feel at this point it's a good use of my time telling people how to do some shit unless I go and prove how it can fucking be useful. You know what I mean? Like then I'm just one of those fucking YouTube art videos where sites were like, "Here's how you can be an artist," and I'm like, don't be an artist." You know, I don't know, man. Go be go. What do you do for a living, Brandon? What do you?
I lift heavy furniture.
You'll lift heavy furniture. It's better, you know. People are always gonna have furniture, and they're gonna need them lifted. You get the floor piss and you put the what's that sequence in where they gets the where they're building that weird
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
thing.
yeah. You get the flumbus, you rub it on the chrombus, and then you get the splooge, and that's how. And then they cry.
Then you take them the tears of the you lay them out and then that forms the that's how you end up with a rhombus lorpus. Like just oh my goodness. We're
Yeah.
looping. But so there's lots of stuff going on, but you know, I can't go into my 40s fucking being hounded by the sins of my 30s. Like it's very dire,
That
I
was
think.
dark.
It's dark, but
Jesus.
that's hey man,
Man,
that's the reality of life.
put that on some marble and put it on like a countertop.
You cannot
The sins of my 30 will not
Mi-
follow me into the
Miyazaki
40s.
Miyazaki directed his first feature film when he was 43.
Oh wow.
Kirby and those guys and Lee didn't create Fantastic Four till their 40s. So, you know, and look, that's like in the 60s. Man, your 40s and your 60s must have been like being 60 now, the way they drank and smoked. So, um, man, dude, I'm not sitting here like, moping around. But I won't lie and say it didn't take a toll on me, you know? It took a toll. But uh, moving forward, uh, it should be all right. So there's no look. I'm gonna drink heavily the night I start kicking those refunds back. I won't lie. That's
Okay.
not fun, man. Watching that money just like when I paid off my student loans, because I'm so irresponsible. You know what I mean? Like I didn't pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I paid off $71,000 in student loans, folks, like I won't lie, my wife and I, we kept 100 of it, and we went to those Brazilian steakhouses, and I
Hmm.
ate a lot of meat and got fucked up. Took a Uber home, passed out. Just, it was worth all the trouble, but I won't lie, man. Like that was tough. And then we got some other surprises coming down the pike, so I can talk about it now. This will be the last thing I talk about, but I'm heading out to Brandon's house in October. In a couple
Hmm.
weeks, we're going to spend a few days there, and we're going to be doing demos for a tabletop game set in the GameCube universe we've been working on the past year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've had Brandon and his wife uh, developing it. I just gave you some basic instructions, and then you kick ideas, and I would go, nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope. And then you found something that was fun, and you've been playtesting it for about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you and your wife feel it is 100% ready to be fun. Just looks like dog shit. Like it's all like,
Correct.
yeah,
It just looks like the look of it's just macrame, homemade. I glued it on top of a Office Monopoly game.
yeah. And so I'm gonna go over there to play the final version and get a really good sense of what art I need to generate, and then sometime after January of next year, I will find weekend time to do that. So this is one of the reasons I've been working so hard on getting that real like scribbly style down,
Yeah.
because it's the only way I'm going to be able to make any kind of art for a tabletop game is if it's done in scribbly style. Um, but it is set in the Game Cave fucking universe, dude. Like it's set in the dungeons. So I've had this idea for years, and there's just some ideas, man. Like I know I'm never gonna get to draw as a comic, just not. I took 4 or 5 different ideas. I'm like, I will never be able to do this as a comic because there isn't enough time in the world. So I've put task Brandon and his wife, who love. You guys love to play games, right? Like I'm. It's actually shocked. You guys like your wife plays Magic and you play poker. So that's enough, right there, right?
Hmm.
You want to add something to this, Brandon, or you just want me to like say
I
right?
wait for, no, here's the thing. I wait for you to finish your sentences because every time I try to chime in, usually
You know,
you
Brandon,
you're
I
like,
don't really have time for your fucking input.
you got all.
so,
No, it's true. We both like different strategy type games where for different reasons. I prefer gambling. I like poker, blackjack, Texas Hold'em, all out, all the different things, roulette. Um, Roulette is very chance based, but you're still, betting, putting things. And my wife likes, D&D, Magic, shit like that. I play Pokemon, so that's turn based. She plays Fire Emblem, so we like turn based, high stake type stuff. So, making a game, it was very hard. Like I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard to think of something kind of original and also challenging. So it's gone through a lot of iterations and input from people who are big gamers and people who aren't. Like we went to a game night where these people play like hardcore D&D. Like I mean they make their own pieces. I don't know. I don't play D&D, but they seem like they were hardcore into it. And they're just like all these ideas. I mean they gave us like 40 ideas and I'm like, okay, well, I'll pick and choose what I think might work to assimilate in the game. But, you know, it's definitely been a new thing for me. Um, so I like it. I'm happy with it. I'm happy enough that I said, yeah, I'm ready to show you. So once you get here and hate it, we can move on.
and then so this idea wasn't. I've had this for years and years, but I actually got hit up around 2012 or 13 to do some art for a card game this guy was making about superheroes during the heyday of the Kickstarter indie game boom. And he was like, I really like the roughies I did. I did some roughies. I can't remember which ones. Some fucking superhero roughies. He's like, I really like this like looser thing you're doing. Do you think you could do like that, but just a little bit more refined? I'm like, I don't know. Guess we'll find out. And so I did some initial stuff, and I liked the way it looked. I'm like, hey, this actually came out good. And he was like, this is amazing. Can you like take it another step further? I'm like, no. And it wasn't. I literally couldn't. I didn't know how to like. I knew how to do it really hard or really stupid. Like I didn't know how to do art in between. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Like I knew how to do art really complicated and tough, and it's gonna take a lot of time, and or I knew how to just get it done super fast. The in between part is something I've had to really teach myself how to do, and so I had to step away from that and go, look, um, let's just cut it off here. You can take whatever I made. I got paid. He owned that. Move on. But I always looked at that like if I could just figure out that in between part, I think that's more than enough for these little card games. And I certainly have a bunch of ideas. Problem is I don't have anyone who can make a game. And so my buddy Joe was really good at games, and he wanted to do this card game based off Ghoul Gears, which is something in Game Cave. But Joe ran into health problems that just he got this rare disease, Like, you want to talk about when I want to feel bad about my life, I just call Joe and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna complain. Joe got hit with some rare disease called Wagner's disease, where he put on like
Oh, wow.
200 something, 200 something plus pounds and almost died. And it's this autoimmune disease, dude. It's so fucking rare. Um, breaks my fucking heart. So I've constantly talked to Joe. He's the one. He called me from the hospital. You can hear people screaming and shit in there. You know, one of those fucking places.
Yeah.
And so like, I would always just be on there for hours, like trying to cheer him up and joke and shit. And he'd go, I'm really sorry, man. I can't be there with the game. I'm like, don't worry, I'll find a replacement. Yeah, it's like, thanks, dude. I'm like, well, that's how it goes. First me, then your wife. I'll find a new. Okay, I don't want to talk about that. All right, gallows humor. So then I told him it was you, and he was like, I'm fucking Brandon. I'm like, yeah, you'll see. It's not that hard. Turns out it is hard, but
Yes.
a real benefit to this process is early on I forced you and her to take it to comic shops or these gaming shops to try
Hmm.
it out with people. And I take it that really. What was it like the first time you took the game out?
Oh
I
man,
never
people looked
asked you
at,
that.
yeah, people looked at me like I was crazy. Like, like, well, it was just like they would stare and they'd look at my wife, check her out, look at my game, look at me, look down because they're like, oh, this is a big guy. What's he doing? I don't know. They'd stare at it. They'd walk up. It was almost like being at Comic Con where they'd walk past your table. They'd kind of pause and look, but nobody talks to you. So I was just like, all right, cool. You want to play my game? No? All right. It was rough.
Right.
It was rough. It's like imagine you just learned to cook and you're trying to get people to taste. Like, no, I promise it won't make you sick. I promise you, I'm really good at cooking. Just give it a taste. Just try it. Try my food.
What
So
was it
yeah.
like when they did play? Like, did it go worse or
Oh, they
better?
liked it. They wanted to play another round and another round, and so they were just like, yeah, let's play another one, yeah. And then people started watching, and they were like, oh yeah, hey, I wanna be that character, because I had painted, a bunch of D&D or whatever they are, role playing. I can't remember. I think it was D&D characters, but I spray painted them different colors, and I used like the spackle approach to them, and I made them all look different and cool. So people would be like, oh, I want the red one, I want the pink one, and I want the archer. So they were visually, at least it was pulling them in because of the craftiness that I did on it. So that was good. And then once I played it, they were like, all right, let's go another round, you know. So I was happy with that.
How long do you think it took you to get to the point where you were like, hey Rob, this is pretty good. Like I don't remember the timeline because what happens is, folks, is I put this into motion and then I literally step away from it and go make other
Yeah.
stuff. So I know some people might be like, oh, so instead of making game camp, you was making a game. I'm like, no, I literally just said, Brandon, I want to make a game. It's gonna play like this meets that. I have no idea how to go do it. Pitch me some ideas, and then you pitch me 3 or 4 ideas, and I'm like, I think this one idea is a way. Start there, and that's
Hmm.
it. I would just be like, any update? What happened? What's going? Like, like, uh, that's all I've been doing. And so, how long do you think it took to get to the point where you felt fairly confident that it was a real game?
uh, I'd say that third that third time at the that bar, that game bar, where there's this bar that is like, it's called Snakes and Ladders, and they have tons of games. They have like mixed drinks and real nice trendy place downtown. It's really cool. It's got high rise buildings around it. I think that night, when people have been coming there a lot to test their games, people were walking away from those games to ask questions about ours, and people were wanting to go another round. And I was like, you know what, okay, and I sent you some pictures of people playing, and I got to walk away from it and let Jess kind of run it. And she's not the I'm the showman. When we're in public, I'm the funny guy, whatever, when we're together. She's more the quiet, reserved one. So it was nice that the game was good enough at that point where she could kind of lead it and I could step away and just watch. So that was pretty cool. Um, and then we did another game night after that where we implemented the last little change. to see if it would work, and it did. And then from there, we have a solid game.
So yeah, about 6 months, 3
Yeah,
months. So six
yeah,
6 months of constant play testing. And folks, we'll get more into this later, but I think that that's also like with the expectation that this is never going to be a perfect game. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to be like there's no way to break the game. It's probably all sorts of fucking ways. Like it's an indie game, you know. I'm like I had a friend playtest a game. Like Joe was and I were making that one for a while when he was still healthy. He playtested it for, I mean, like 2 years, dude. And I'm like, well, enough's enough. How
yeah,
long, how long do you need to really, like, I'm not trying to invent the next magic here. Like, it needs to be fun. And if it can be broke, we'll learn. You know what I mean? Like, I always assume, like, in game development, someone's going to find a way to do some shit you never intended. You
yeah,
know? There's nothing you can do about that. But, long as it's fun at the end of the day, then there you go. So now we're at the phase where Brandon, you felt it was there months ago. I want to say around May or April, around there.
yeah. But then like we added this extra. We were talking about that surprise element or the randomness to it. Um, I think after that, it's hard to tell because we've been doing so many different projects, but once we added that random element and it worked the way me and Jessica set it up, I was like, okay, it's solid enough. It's enough where it's not going to get any better, but if we keep messing with it, it would get worse. So it was at that point where I was like, I was confident with it, but I'm like, if we keep messing with this, we're going to break something or make it worse.
Right. Yeah. So now I'm gonna go out, play it myself with a group of people, for a night or two, and then figure out how much art I need to produce, and then try to get that out in the next year or so. So, um, the art's always the slowest part. Like, that's the way it works. And then while I'm doing that, Brandon's gonna start the next game. 'Cause I told you I have 4 or 5 of these things figured out. So and the fun part about the game thing is every time we get to the next one, I'm like, okay, all that shit you learned, not gonna help. Like this one's completely different, right?
Yeah.
How's it going on the next one? Have you tried not to think about it? Like
I don't even, what? There is no next one. That's it. That is it.
There absolutely is a next one. You nitwit, and you're supposed to be working on it. So we're gonna have to talk about that, Brandon.
Yes.
Brandon's like, I'm too busy drawing comics. I'm trying to draw the Rick and Morty. When do you think you'll get to the point you'll be able to start posting Rick and Morty stuff?
1 month.
What is this?
Keep myself a buffer now.
October 31st. Let's say on Halloween you're gonna start posting the Rick and Morty comic. Is it gonna be your Instagram? You're posting that one? That one's just your Instagram, right?
Yeah.
All right, you'll post that one on your Instagram. So I gotta figure out this script. So I was trying to get Brandon to do the Deadpool comic, but he didn't want to do it.
Pass.
Yeah, he's the assassin. Get it? Assassin. Deadpool. He's right. See, Kyle had the same lukewarm response. I guess I'm the only one.
There's already a Deadpool anyways. It's
There
a Winnie
is?
the Pooh plus Deadpool. Merritt Michaels does it.
Oh wow! I meant like an actual poo. That's much
I know.
smarter. Oh, that Merritt Michaels. Why isn't he drawing Brigade?
I don't know.
What's up with that Brigade comic? Dude, it's all cyber now. Did you see it?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, Prophet's all like got metal arms and all cyber and shit, dude. Whatever. I mean, fine. I mean, I give Liefeld some credit. Youngblood without Liefeld, no fucking point. I don't see the point of it. So, but yeah, it is funny though. Brigade. The whole point of did you ever read Brigade?
I don't recall.
So the point of Brigade is the main character's name was Bloodstone, and he was the original leader of the Youngblood, but got thrown out, so he formed his own team called Brigade, which I find awfully funny considering that life.
Yeah.
I'm like, Can work on my own thing now. Can't work on Youngblood, so now I'm gonna go make Brigade. It's hilarious. Like it's funny how that works out. Uh, Alrighty, well we've talked pretty long. This is the last I'm gonna talk about the game cave thing. So I'm not going to talk about this Kickstarter ever again. I mean that, Brandon.
That's
Like we're done with it after this.
that's
So
it.
this
Done.
is
Finito.
a 2 hour long conversation about this fucking nonsense. But um, is there any final words you want to give to this?
Artichoke.
No, being dead serious. Your joke writing's stupendous.
It's amazing. Now, like I said, it if you ever think like Rob's taking an easy way out, try following one of your dreams and then having to quit on it. It's not an easy thing. It's really not. Think of it as like I know this isn't close, but it's the only thing I can think of because of myself is think of a professional athlete. You know, they play all these years and then eventually they can't. They're too old. They can't. They have to give up on the one thing they've only ever wanted to do, and that's what they got to do, whether they like to or not. It's just the way it's got to go. So sometimes you just have to walk away from a bad situation, bad relationship, bad whatever it is. You just got to walk away from it, and it's hard. It's not easy. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's easy." It's like, no, it's not. Like you give up on something that's failing right now in your life and see how it goes. Whether it be smoking or drinking caffeine. I couldn't. I tried. I tried giving up on sodas. Couldn't do it. So it's hard. It's hard to one succeed. It's real hard to know when you can't succeed. It's an
Yeah,
ego.
and to get all mental about it, my mom abandoned me on Christmas. So like anytime I abandon something, oof. You know what I mean? I just You ever see the Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie
Yeah.
where Crow's like digging a mine on the he's got a pickaxe and he's digging a hole on the space station. I've been working on it. Feels like I'm digging a hole on a space station. I'm basically just driving myself out into the vacuum of space. So it's gets a little macabre, you know, it gets a little dark. So but man, I just want to move forward, you know, to more positive experiences. So I'm at a point now where it's like, you know, I can take the hit for the next 3 or 4 years and pay it off. So, but I can't take, I can't imagine. Imagine, Brandon, if I told you, oh, by the way, one more fucking DigiCraft podcast to do, you know?
Mm,
Oh, that was, remember how much of a fun that was getting that done?
I don't even want to. I don't even know what you're talking about, sir.
I know Kyle downloaded all of them and he's like, never listened to them. I'm like, thanks, Kyle. You know,
Right.
you know, but I got them. They're sitting right there. I'm like, okay, Kyle, there's
Yeah.
gotta be what, 50, 60 hours of content, you know? I can't even tell you what it was to like upload all that shit. So it took forever. But it got done. They all get done. So I'm looking forward to starting with Little Reapers and focusing on that and how I'm going to do that. And then when I get done, we can start the Game Cave adventure. So it's a nice, easy way into that universe, just hanging out with Bombcat and Kacho. That's the thing, too. Like, Game Cave is like an ensemble piece, Brandon, and writing all the different characters when you kind of don't know the first main characters is a little tough.
Hmm.
So I'd like to spend a year just spending time with Bombcat and Kacho. The characters in Little Reapers are they're kind of I don't want to say they're throwaway, but they're not long term. You know, they're for the project. So um, get to spend a year doing that, and then I'll go start Game Cave, and I'm just going to spend the next 10, 15 years of my life making my own comics, and then I can retire from that fucking endeavor. And hopefully the game thing works out. But I won't lie, producing a game for the Kickstarter does freak me out a little bit. So we're gonna have to be very responsible, Brandon, with
Yes.
vendors and filling orders. I mean, if there's anything I've told Brandon, I'm like, you know, that goes to Kickstarter. It needs to go smooth as shit, like smooth
Right.
sailing, bro. Like, you know, to the point where I believe we'll have a fully physical prototype. You've already got a vendor contacted, and if we do really well, then we'll have them do all the fulfillment. Otherwise, I'm gonna fly out to your place and we'll spend a week or two. I'll live on your fucking couch for a couple weeks and get all that shit done. But I don't know when that'll be. Like I just don't know. So but we will find a way to get it all done. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we got. That's all the show for a bit. And I think the next time we do, well, what do we got coming up? We got I was supposed to go see Promare the other night. I bought my tickets. Supposed to go see Promare, and I was sick, so couldn't go. So the next thing we got coming up is the Joker movie. So Brandon and I we'll have to do. I don't know when we're gonna do a mega show next. Maybe we'll save all that. We'll put all that together. This should be a mega show. It's fucking 2 hours long. Good thing it's Saturday, huh, Brandon? I gotta work tomorrow. Do you work on Saturdays?
It just depends on the Saturday.
You work today?
I was gonna go do a couple things, yeah, but it's not officially like set hours today, but some couple things I need to get done.
I see. All right, well, that's it. All right, say goodbye, Brandon.
Bye, everybody.
It's a fun show, huh, everybody? This is the part where I asked Brandon to mute his mic so he doesn't talk. End of the show. You know, it took a long time to get to the end. And it didn't quite go the way we anticipated. We got there just the same. Just like Yankee. Not the happy ending, but a happy, well, a fulfilled, no, an ending. It's done. I'm out of here. Peace.